Welcome to Art Zone. Art Zone is a video document of art and artists in the Rockford area. In this episode, we'll explore metal sculpture from two artists, Deb Karish and Jean Horvath. Listen for music by pianist Stephen Johnson with the Rockford Symphony Orchestra peppered throughout the show. We'll also check in with the Rockford Art Museum on opening night.
Hi, I'm Doc Slavkowski, and this is the Art Zone. We're coming to you from J.R. Cortman Center for Design, downtown in the heart of Rockford's Cultural District. In this Art Zone, we'll show you the work of two artists who manipulate metals to create art on entirely different scales. Deb Karish, who's a jewelry artist, and Jean Horvath, who has created a life-size downtown sculpture for a Veterans Memorial. Then we'll see video highlights of the Rockford Art Museum's opening for Dan Guston and a concept exhibition entitled Mothers and Daughters. And throughout the show, we'll hear from the concert pianist Stephen Johnson, who performed with the Rockford Symphony Orchestra. But first, here's that interview, or that conversation, I should say, with Deb Karish. Tell us how you got into jewelry as opposed to any other medium.
Well, I started out to be a home economics major when I first started in college, and I had to take some design classes, and I really enjoyed them, and I took some ceramics and things like that, and I really enjoyed the more hands-on, more physical type of art, but none of the things that I had when I first started out really felt like the right medium for me. So I just kind of let it slide for a while, and I just happened to be at an art show, and I saw the jewelry exhibits, and I thought, that's it. That's what I really want to do. And there was someone there who taught classes, so I just picked up her card and started taking some classes, and I really liked it, so I decided to go back and get my degree. So I went back to Northern and got my Bachelor of Arts degree, and then I stopped for a time and just kind of piddled around and did some gallery stuff and some shows and things, and then they offered me a tuition waiver to come back and do my master's, so I went back and did my master's in jewelry and metalwork.
What distinguishes your work from craft? I mean, jewelry can easily be viewed as craft.
Technically, jewelry is a craft. That's an age-old discussion, and people that are in the metalsmithing field talk about it endlessly. I think probably there really isn't a designation. It's all in the viewer's mind. I personally don't believe that it's terribly important. I think that it has maybe a little bit of little something to do with the fact that art tends to be more. It has content and it has intent. It has something to say, whereas what people would consider craft is maybe more just an aesthetic decision.
You talked in your artist statement, which I found really fascinating, about jewelry having not only something that you just look at, but it has portability, and it also has something to do with the fact that the person participates more in the piece. Expound on that a little bit.
Well, I think that jewelry is probably the one, aside from commercial art, it's the most visible of the art forms, in that, you put it on your body and you go out into the world with it. A painting is something that you hang on your wall, and people come to your home and they see it, and it makes some statement about what's important to you, but it's only seen by the people that are closest to you, the people that you invite into your home. Whereas when you put on a piece of jewelry, it says something to you, about you, to everyone that you see. It's, you're not editing who sees it. And I think, too, it creates an intimacy. I mean, it's a very personal thing. Jewelry has a long history of saying something about the wearer. I mean, it was used to denote class or status for as long as as it's been in existence. So, I think it's a real important thing for people. It tells people if you're married or not married, or medals are put on people, decorating them for distinguished service for different reasons. So it can be a very significant item. Yeah, and this is this is what they grew out of. And these were a lot more, I guess, more abstract and a little more aggressive in feeling than these pieces. These pieces are a little bit calmer, a little more user-friendly. You don't want to hug your best friend when you're wearing this piece. But these pieces are a little bit simpler. I've always had an attraction to minimalist art, and so I was trying to bring some of that into my own work. That simplicity that I love in painting and sculpture. So this goes a little bit more in that direction of minimalism. I just developed a fascination with words and the idea that that's art is communication, and words are what we generally use in our everyday life to communicate, whether it's written word or spoken word. But words tend to be sort of weak. They don't always say what we really want them to say. And, there's other things we use to communicate, like our body language and things like that. But a lot of times that's not available for us. So I think that's why artists turn to images, is because they can say things in an image that either they're unable to say with words because the words are not enough, they're not the right words in existence to say what they feel, or because maybe they don't have the courage to say what they want to say. And so it just, somehow the idea of putting words in the art just seemed to be kind of a funny thing, I just thought it would be interesting to superimpose the actual words. And plus, I just developed a habit of collecting phrases that I like, little quotations that are either poignant or funny, or, so some of my work may seem kind of silly, and it is, and I like that about it, and some of it might be very serious, and, we all have both those sides.
In the title of the show at the Cortman Gallery is Words Like Stone. Explain the significance of that title.
Well, there was a whole little poem that goes along with it that I couldn't exactly recite to you, but it basically what it's saying is that stones can be used to lay a path or build a wall, meaning that they can create a bridge to another human being, or they can put a wall between human beings, depending on how you use them. And words are the same way. You can use words to create a friendship with somebody or a relationship with somebody, or you can use words to protect yourself and keep people away. And
are there words on those earrings that you have on?
Yeah.
What does it say?
It says choice.
And that's another question. What about the significance, or the relationship, I should say, between the jewelry, the specific piece, and the words that you selected to put on that specific piece? Is there a relationship there, or is it random, or?
Sometimes there's a relationship. Sometimes, like there was one piece that I did that was just a kind of a whimsical piece that said, "I'd love to kiss you, but I just washed my hair," and it's kind of a figurative piece that has kind of wild hair. And sometimes I just use that sort of a simple shield-like form that is sort of like to me it's like a piece of paper. It's a simple form that people can relate to, and it's sort of it's like a protection. A shield is a way to protect yourself from things that you're afraid of or things that are menacing. And the words sometimes are a way of letting people in behind that shield, and sometimes they're a way of keeping people at arm's length. Some of the pieces have the thorn shapes on them. The thorns for me have always been kind of they've grown out of an earlier series of work that I did with thorns that had to do with pieces that were beautiful and tactile and you wanted to hold them, but if you held them too tightly, they would hurt you. And I still feel that same way with the thorns. These thorns aren't as menacing as the old thorns were, but you know, it's the same thing. It's a protective device. It's like the stone wall.
Tell us about your choice of materials.
Well, I choose to use materials that aren't maybe as precious as what some people think jewelry ought to be. For years, my father's been telling me I should make things in gold because I'd make more money. But for me, it's not about the preciousness of the material. It's about the color and the ability of the material to take a form. Some of it's symbolic. The copper has historically been noted as a female metal. The alchemist symbol for copper is the same as the symbol for woman, which I thought was really kind of interesting.
And how does that come about?
That I know that, you mean?
Yeah,
or that
no, what is the relationship between copper and woman?
I don't really know. I just it's an ancient thing, and I'm not really sure what the reasoning for it was. But when I discovered it, I thought it was pretty fascinating because I'd always liked copper. It's a very, I think partly because it's a warm. The tones of copper are warm, and women have always been seen as warm and nurturing, as opposed to, you know, the male has been seen more as aggressive and not, you know, as warm and nurturing. So I suspect it might have something to do with that, but, you know, that's all sort of conjecture. I don't really know.
What about the accessibility of your art? I mean, you had talked about that earlier, about pieces being accessible.
Well, you know, we talked a little bit earlier about this too. I think that there's a certain classism in the art world that I'm not real crazy about. That, you know, there's an intellectual classism that says that artists have some view of the world that other people don't understand, that we have some inside track on the meaning of life, and, you know, and that's what makes us artists. And, you know, I'm not sure that that's necessarily true, and it tends to put people off of art because they're afraid that, you know, they're going to look at it and not understand it, which is another thing I think people like about the pieces that have words on them. It's pretty upfront, you know, they don't have to think about it, they can just enjoy it. And that's another reason why I choose the materials I do, is because I want people to be able to afford to have my things. You know, I don't think it would be much fun to make jewelry that no one could afford to have. I would much rather see my pieces walking around, you know, on someone than to see them sitting in a, you know, in a case somewhere. I really get a kick out of, especially if I see someone that I don't know that has a piece on and I recognize it. It's sort of exciting. I like that. Well, I guess my whole point of it is that jewelry is more than just a pretty thing to match your favorite outfit. I mean, it is a statement, just like a painting is a statement. And, you know, I found that a lot of people appreciated my work but wouldn't necessarily wear a piece of jewelry. And so, you know, this is a way for them to enjoy it without having to put it on their jacket. I also think, for me, it was just it was sort of a wake-up call, you know. It's like, hey, you know, this is something different. This is, you know, you need to think about jewelry in a different way. It's not, you know, it's not necessarily all that you think it is. I think one of the things that art does is makes you think about something in a different way than you might have seen it before. You know, and I guess that was the main point of it, is just to make people question what they thought about jewelry before. I guess Right now, I feel like I'm at a sort of a stepping off place with my work. In the past, I've done it very sporadically on a part-time kind of basis, selling a piece here or there, giving pieces away. And this show has sort of allowed me to have a focus. And it's been sort of, I guess the way it's been received has been real encouraging to me. I've sold a lot of pieces out of the show, and so it gives me the feeling that people enjoy my work and that I'm heading in the right direction. For me, I don't know that it's an end result. I took a workshop with a guy this summer who had the same fascination with collecting quotations and things like that I do. And his favorite quote was one that said, "Art is not a thing, it is a way." And I just love that quote. I thought that really sums it up. It's there is no end, there is no end result, there's no culmination. It's just a way of life, and it's just going on and doing it every day. And I guess at this point, I just am looking to reach out to a broader spectrum of people with it. And I think that, you know, presenting it in the gallery atmosphere has really helped me to do that, because, you know, when you have your things in a display case with a lot of other jewelry, people don't really single it out and think of it. They don't look at it critically. They don't consider what it means. Whereas this sort of presentation puts it in a different light. And I've really enjoyed that about it. And so I guess there really isn't a specific goal. It's just to keep on living the way I'm living right now. It has been said that words get in the way. Stumble over them, catch yourself, avoid the fall, or suddenly crash down on tender feelings. Run headlong into a wall of words, each stone laid to keep the world at bay. Covered in a thorny vine of pretty prose, only the wings of an image safely soar past the wall, over the stones. It happens if you listen with your eyes, if you hear with your heart. Words, like stones, can lay a path or build a wall.
Wait, take two.
I watch Art Zone. What do you want?
I am in the process of making a pattern. This will allow me to determine what my form requirements are. I can mark, for example, what is happening in this particular chin line, and start to modify this pattern to the study underneath. And now a mass starts becoming a head as the tucks are welded and I've also done considerable work on the ears. Here's some of the initial work that did not work out. That's not a problem, because I always expect to have to evolve and figure out how to do each part. Now these ears are close to the finished product, and the biggest problem I saw was able to keep this crisp line here of the overhang of that part of the ear. I've been working on the eyes, and my first attempt created a nice effect, discoloration of the bronze copper, so that I want to make a little ornament, a decoration piece of jewelry for my wife out of that piece. But since that time, I've gone to this approach. What I am thinking here is that I might as well make all 6 pair of eyes at one time, and then the slight variation in the positioning of the eyeball in the eye that will not be truly in center, I'll be able to pair those up and make legitimate pairs of eyes. It will also save me considerable time to make 6 pairs as opposed to making each pair separately. Here is the final approach I'm making to this. What I'm doing now is to complete this spherical shape by forcing it into this section of pipe. This has not been completed yet, so I found a hammer that's the right spherical diameter, and now I just I am also working on the second leg. In fact, this second leg was worked on at the same time as the first one. They were both in the standing position, so I did have the relationship of the 2 legs together. I have now just removed this leg from the base so that it'd be easier to do some of the final welding in the horizontal position. You will note that there is still a lot of open space, triangulars of area that would have to be filled in. Some of the folds are not completely welded.
While we watched artist Gene Horvath work on his sculpture from his studio, we heard in the background the music of concert pianist Stephen Johnson. Stephen Johnson came to Rockford to visit area high schools in an outreach program entitled Take Note. His visits culminated in a performance with the Rockford Symphony Orchestra. Here now is a piece from that concert.
Don't zone out because you're zoned in to the art zone.
Gene Horvath, one of Rockford's best-known and best-loved sculptors, died on Friday, April 14, 1995. His creative legacy lives on in a collection of public sculptures throughout the city of Rockford and beyond. The Art Zone would like to present this video tribute to Mr. Horvath by showing you some of his works that have become landmarks on the cultural landscape of Rockford. Thanks for watching the Art Zone. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you have any questions or comments, stop in at J.R. Cortman Center for Design, 107 North Main, or give us a call at 968-0123. Here now are those video highlights of opening night at the Rockford Art Museum.
This is the Art Zone. This is the Art Zone.
Art Zone is funded by J.R. Cortman Center for Design, downtown Rockford.
This is the Art Zone. 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 This is the Art Zone.